SpaceX has just dropped the Flight 11 plan. Pad A is nearly launch ready, and the Starship pad at LC-39A is catching up fast with Starbase. All this and more in this week's Starbase Update. Let's begin by talking about Starship Pad A at Starbase. In the past few days, this pad has seen a lot of activity. Unlike previous times, after Ship 38's static fire, the team waited a few days before starting the demod process. The most likely reason goes back to what happened with Ship 37. After its static fire, just before Flight 10, the crew immediately began demodding the pad. But that turned out to be a mistake, because checks at Gigabay 2 revealed that Ship 37 actually needed another round of testing. This forced the workers to remod Pad A for additional tests, and then demod it all over again for Flight 10. Not exactly fun, I'd guess. This time, after Ship 38's test, the team was more cautious. They waited a few days before beginning demod. Finally, almost 3 days after Ship 38's departure, the crew started removing all the modifications. The first clear sign came on September 25th, when SpaceX's LR-11000 crane was moved across the launch complex, from Pad B to Pad A. The most probable reason for this move was the removal of the Star Stool, the Starship adapter, from Pad A. And indeed, on September 26th, the crew removed the Star Stool, which was transported back to the production site on September 27th, hopefully for the last time. Next up, they removed SQD umbilicule with some other pipe extricating from the door. And then they had installed all 20 clamps, and the alignment pins for the booster are back in place. The crew has also started removing the bins and rails that were used during the booster catch. Obviously, since there won't be another booster catch on this tower until the Pad A OLM remod. A bit sad, honestly, because it was a spectacular setup. Talk about the rapid effort to make the OLM operational again for the October 13th launch date. But what's the plan for this mission? We now have an answer directly from SpaceX. In fact, on September 30th, they released the official flight plan and main objectives. So, let's analyze it. The flight profile itself remains almost the same. The booster will lift the full stack to the hot staging point, then separate from the ship and head for a splashdown, while the ship will go on a suborbital flight. During this flight, it will deploy 8 dumblinks, hopefully one with a camera, before relighting an engine to begin its descent through the atmosphere and finally splash down in the Indian Ocean. However, there are a few key differences in how both vehicles will perform their splashdowns. For example, the booster, during its final landing burn, will relight 13 engines from the middle and center rings, then switch to a new 5-engine configuration before transitioning to 3 engines for the final approach on the virtual tower. SpaceX explained that this test is meant to demonstrate a new flight and action profile for the upcoming V3 booster, and that this maneuver will likely become standard for V3 if it proves successful, since it provides much greater control during the final phase of the landing burn. As for the ship, it will run new experiments focused on the nose cone and forward flaps, where a lot of tile was removed, likely to stress test them to the limit for next-generation hardware. The ship will also execute an almost landing burn, the same kind of burn that will eventually be used for tower landings. We truly hope SpaceX achieves all these objectives and that this will be a fantastic final Block 2 launch. It will probably be a while before the next one, considering the transition from V2 to V3, which is still in an early stage of development. At the moment, there are no next-gen boosters or ships stacked, or even close to completing the stacking process. Talking about other events and tests this week, we had a mysterious closure from production to Massey. At first, everyone thought it was related to TT-39.1, which has been sitting in Gigabay 2 for a while after its stacking. But to everyone's surprise, the workers decided to move the ship and booster cryo stand into this closure. We have no clear idea why, but we can assume they're upgrading the stand for the new version of the vehicle. Next up, TT-18.3 earlier this week received a strange beam-shaped structure lifted behind the cage. Some have speculated this might be for grid fin tests, but we can't confirm that. What we do know is that the next day, the vehicle went through a partial third round of cryo testing, but was quickly detanked. Another thing we noticed is a massive concrete pour in the Gigabay foundations, rushing to complete the final central piece at the front of the bay. Now, only the right angle section remains to pour, while the crew has started laying down gravel and compacting it. Probably, Within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be able to see the 4 tower cranes rising in the main hallway of the bay, followed by the lifting of the first column, just like in the Florida Gigabay. Talking about Florida, we've had some major milestones achieved this week. In fact, on the morning of September 27th, the crew lifted the first half of the flame bucket into the now fully poured flame trench. And in the afternoon, the second half was also moved into place, completing the dual flame bucket. Next up, we'll see the LC-39A launch mount, now staged at the Roberts Road facility, being stacked onto its legs to complete the preliminary OLM structure. Based on the Starbase timeline, we're about a month away from that happening, but hey, the important thing is that it's happening. We're talking about the OLM being lifted into position. But how will they lift this colossus? Well, based on Starbase operations, they'll need 2 giant cranes to get it done. One is already at the launch site and helped lift the flame bucket, while the parts for the second crane have begun arriving. Since October 1st, we've seen many of these crane components staged along the LC-39A road, and the following day, some of these parts started rolling to the pad, while others waited alongside more common loads, like a Falcon 9 fairing half and several components for the Gigabay, which is still rising. It's incredible to see how quickly everything is moving, and we're getting more and more excited watching this kind of progress unfold. So that's all for this week, guys. It's been another incredible set of updates from Starbase and Florida. Things are moving fast, and the next few weeks are going to be amazing to watch. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more exciting news and behind-the-scenes progress. Thanks so much for watching and for being part of this awesome community. Your support really keeps this going. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.